Hey guys, Josh Culler here, the host of the Good Success Podcast. Hey, I'm just dropping in here to let you know that we are giving a free book away. Yes, a free book called Active Turnkey, The Best Way to Buy Rentals by Tom Olson himself, the president of Good Success. Yes, I did say we are giving it away for free. All you got to do is go to goodsuccess.com/ATKbook. Again, that's goodsuccess.com/ATKbook. as an active turnkey. And we're going to cover the book. So we're going to actually pay for the book and give it to you for free. We're just asking you to cover shipping costs, which is very minimal compared to the value that you're going to be getting in the book. So if you are interested in learning how to create financial freedom with real estate, go get your copy now. Again, that is goodsuccess.com/ATKbook. Thank you for listening to the Good Success Podcast, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I am your host, Josh Culler, and we've got Tom Olson, president of Good Success, sitting right here, right next to us. And then we got a very, very special interview. We actually just been chatting for about the last 10 minutes with Pedro Adao. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
That's
Adao?
right. Yep.
Awesome. So this is going to be a really, really interesting podcast. Pedro is the founder of Fortress Financial 100X Academy, which we just talked about, an event that
I know some of what we just talked about. I was like, oh, I wish that would have been on the podcast. So hopefully we can recreate that.
Right, exactly. And then he's a best-selling author. And then he's got an award in the background there, the ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club, which we'll have him explain what exactly that is once we get into him introducing himself. And then he's also got a very extensive real estate background, which was super interesting that we didn't know about. We just found out about right before we started the show here. So that's exciting. So Pedro, first of all, it's awesome to have you on the podcast, man. I'm excited about this. I got some really good questions for you.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. I love podcasting. I just love talking about kingdom entrepreneurship. And then I didn't really know you guys even were a real estate show. I'm like, I haven't talked real estate in a while, but I mean, that's my roots. That's really how I got started as an entrepreneur, was through real estate industry. So I'm looking forward to kind of maybe even pulling some of that stuff off the shelf and talking about a little bit of real estate as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're excited about that. So, but before we get into the podcast, guys, we got a couple of things. So the first thing is Tom Olson wrote this book, Active Turnkey, The Best Way to Buy Rentals, and we're giving it away for free.
Josh, I wish you'd stop giving away these books.
Is that okay if we do it for free?
No, you got to stop this. What do you mean we're giving it away for free?
So you can go pick up your free copy at goodsuccess.com/ATKbook. Again, that's ATK as an active turnkey book. And all you got to do is cover shipping costs.
So you stop giving them away.
I got a whole box of another few hundred out there. So we got plenty to go around. So we've already sent out a huge batch of these. So make sure you get your copy. It is absolutely free. Just cover the shipping costs. And we'll have that linked in the comment section here so you guys can go to it. And if you're listening to the podcast.
Oh, it's a picture book, Josh.
It is a picture book. There's pop-ups. There's coloring pages. It's amazing.
There's a handsome fella right there.
I swear. It's awesome. I colored that. Isn't that good?
It's pretty good.
Isn't that good?
You got your crayons out?
Yep.
Josh is the creative type.
I'm the creative. Yeah. So anyway, go to goodsuccess.com/ATKbook. You guys can pick up your free copy there. Make sure you don't miss out on that. Fantastic. Talks about the 5 wealth generators, financial freedom through real estate. The best way to buy rentals is the whole topic there. So some great information. Make sure you go do that. Maybe we're going to get some Tom to sign some of these when we send those out again. So that'd be cool.
Okay.
Awesome. So if you haven't picked up your copy,
maybe
go
I should
pick
make
it up.
Pay for that.
We'll add it's an ancillary. It's like the impulse purchase.
Yeah.
it's make that the order bump.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly right. Yes. So make sure you go pick it up. And then we have our Good Success Mastermind coming up. It is November 8th through 10 in Miami, Florida. We're very excited about that. We've got a really good lineup, a lot of new attendees that are coming in that we're very excited about. And then obviously our actual members are going to be there. Great community. We have a activity planned the evening before.
Yes.
On a boat.
On a boat.
That's
in the ocean.
In the ocean. It's our own boat with.
It's like our version of a party boat.
That's exactly right. It's It may not be as wild as your typical party boat, but
our version.
We'll have fun with it, I promise. So
Good Success version.
Yeah, lots of networking going down, guys. So make sure you check that out. goodsuccess.com/mastermind. You can learn more about it there. We do have you fill out an application, so make sure you do not skip that step and do that. And then either myself or Tom will jump on a phone call with you and see if it's the right fit for you. We'd love to have you on if you are a real estate entrepreneur or entrepreneur in general. I know we have a few other businesses that are actually in the mastermind that complement very well. So goodsuccess.com/mastermind. It's going to be linked below. So make sure you guys check that out. Kevin's on the link. So anything that we talk about with link-wise, any websites or whatever for Pedro is all going to be linked. So make sure you guys check those out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the podcast. We got some amazing questions for Pedro. I was doing some research on Pedro because Tom actually hooked us up in a text message thread. And so I'm like, all right, I got to find out what this guy's all about. And so I did some digging, some research, and he's legit, dude.
Let's see what you guys came up with.
And he's not only legit, but he's the type of person that I would want to hang out with.
Absolutely.
He's the type of person that like understands that we're not just here for ourselves.
Absolutely.
We're not just here to like have a bunch of gold and a bunch of silver. We're here for a purpose. And I love his kingdom investing talk. And I love what he tries to encourage other people to do better. I just heard you at Starbucks a couple days ago talking about like, let go of your past and like live in the future, like focus on your future. And so I love the way that he helps to try to encourage other people. But I'm interested to hear from his mouth a little bit more about his things he's got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So just do us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do. And we even talked about getting into your real estate background just a little bit. So maybe even go as far back as that. So let us know about the 100X Academy that's coming up in October. That we can't go to because I'm getting married, but we'll be at the next one, I promise. So that's a guarantee there. So talk about that. Talk about your any of the books that you've come out with, and then Fortress Financial, and then also that big shiny award that you got back there from ClickFunnels.
Yeah. So like I was saying, guys, I'm an entrepreneur, and the cool thing about my journey in entrepreneurship is actually real estate was the bridge for me. So I was, I'm the son of Portuguese immigrants. My parents came here from Portugal in I think the late 60s. I was born in 74. Immigrant culture, work hard, save your money. My parents were, sharp, but didn't know the language, didn't really know a lot about America. Like most immigrants, the stock market seems very sketchy to them. So they bought real estate. So I grew up, with my dad, going to the apartments, cleaning out the garbage, pulling out the coins from the laundry machine. And I just grew up around real estate and property. And not just my parents, but also seeing all of our, Portuguese American community was all buying property. And I saw their whole lifestyles increase over time, right? Went off to college, went to Davis pre-med, realized I didn't want to be in school for, 12 years, and then shift over to economics. Started out in the corporate world, was doing a lot of corporate operational work, sales training, and then just the commutes back and forth to Silicon Valley, 3-hour commutes. I just got really bored in the corporate structure. Like I want to go fast. And in the corporate world, like that's really not always desired. And I just found myself finding no purpose or meaning in the work I was doing. I was making great money, but I'm like 3 hours on the road to a job I don't like. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm sitting at my dining room table with a friend of the family. She was a mortgage broker at that time. And I was complaining about like, I'm not really like what I'm up to. I wish I could do something a little bit more flexible. She's like, well, why don't you become a real estate appraiser? If you become a real estate appraiser, I own a mortgage company. I can give you all of my assignments from all my loans. I literally thought about that for 1 second. Like for 1 second, I was like, I got up off the table. I walked over to the office, to my den, where my computer was, and I literally purchased my Anthony Schools, I think it was back then, Anthony Schools appraisal real estate course within 5 minutes of her giving me that idea. Went to the school, got hired on the spot by the teacher. I was in the front row. I was super spunky. I wanted to learn. I was engaged. I knew a lot of this. I knew a lot of the concepts from being, having an economics degree. didn't even know this was like the #1 appraiser like in California. This guy was this amazing guy, taught me how to basically underwrite commercial property, taught me how to underwrite residential property. So I got mentored and trained by like one of the most best minds in real estate appraisal valuation. And then from there, got into lending, sales, brokerage, flipping, investing, full service financial, services. And then that's kind of how I landed now into more of the marketing world, because I wanted to grow my financial practice. Very competitive niche, working with people that are highly marketed to, highly targeted. And so that's how I developed my marketing skills and created some really cool stuff online. And that's how I got that award, was from doing some really cool stuff in the online world, in the financial services industry, and realized that as much as I love financial, still talk about financial a lot. We still have our financial business. But really, I'm just as passionate, maybe even more passionate about the marketing, messaging, marketing, and really tying all this into what I call, kingdom principles. And how I've done all this in the past few years was really applying kingdom principles into business and how I operate. And that's really been the catalyst for a lot of success that we've had.
I think it's really interesting that you brought this out, that story. And I didn't know that, by the way. But the one thing that sticks out to me is he said he thought about it for 1 second and then he took action. And like action is what produces a result. Like if we can sit around and talk all day long, talk is cheap, but like money talks, and you got to get your actions speak. So and I think that's like the biggest key, the differentiator from somebody like Pedro to the person that just whines and complains and, I'm waiting for the government to give me my next check, or I'm waiting for the government to change so I can be successful. That talk like completely like makes us lose our own responsibility. So taking responsibility, taking action, that's awesome.
Absolutely. So what does it really mean? You use the term kingdom entrepreneur, which is super intriguing to me. I've actually never heard that, but, and I watch the videos online and everything. So I know what it means, but I would love for our listeners to understand what this even means, because this whole concept means a lot to us. So what does it mean to be a kingdom entrepreneur?
Yeah. So, and I'm not, I hope I'm not, I'm not going to offend anybody with this, but I just want to share my heart and
no, don't worry about that.
Right.
There's no offending going on.
So what kingdom entrepreneurship means to me, when a lot of people right now are seeing my ads, they're seeing kingdom entrepreneurship, I think I know what's happening in their mind. And I think when they hear that, what they think, or what I think they think, is Christian business. Kingdom entrepreneurship is not Christian business. Okay? Christian business, what I've seen of Christian business, so I'm going to tell you what kingdom entrepreneurship is by telling you what it's not. It's not Christian business. What's Christian business? In my experience, Christian business is believers, Christians, who have learned to do business, who have had success in business. For the most part, learning from secular people, doing things that just may work in business, doing things that might not be the most super clean 100%, right? But yet they have success in business. They have this thing they do Monday through Friday. There's somebody Monday through Friday, they learn how to do business according to the world's way, or how their industry operates. A lot, I come out of the insurance industry, one of the sketchiest industries, unfortunately, and yet then on Sunday, that person is somebody else. They have a different value system on Sunday. So what Christian business, I think, is, hey, let me bring my Christian values and my ethics, and let me try and infuse those Christian values into how I do my business. Okay? I want nothing to do with that. Okay? And that's better. That's better than just doing regular business. But what a kingdom entrepreneur is someone who actually builds their entire business. And not just their business, it's how they do life. When you're a kingdom entrepreneur, you are always about the Father's business. So as a kingdom entrepreneur, I just get to be that all the time. Once I actually realized that I am, my identity was as a kingdom entrepreneur, like literally clarity came to my life, because I wasn't torn anymore about like ministry over here and this over there. Like, I'm a kingdom entrepreneur. I do kingdom business wherever I go. Sometimes that means, building a sales funnel for somebody. Sometimes that means doing a podcast interview. Sometimes that means laying hands and praying for someone to get healed. Sometimes that means, being a great dad to my kids and going to frozen yogurt. I mean, but I'm always doing kingdom business, which means the actions I'm taking, the beliefs about how I see and read the world are being filtered and are being built upon a framework of kingdom foundational principles. The kingdom works everywhere, all the time, with anyone. Christian the Christianity, the faith of Christianity, the religion, the church of Christianity. When you look at the American church and what we do in church, much of what happens in church will not work anyplace else. It's stuff that we do in church may work in church, but you try and do that same stuff anywhere else, it won't work. And this is straight out of the mouth of Bill Johnson, the senior leader of maybe one of the most successful ministries on the planet, Bethel. Bill Johnson has said from himself, what we do in church will not work on the other mountains. The kingdom works everywhere, on every mountain. So what I would submit to you and your listeners is, if you want to prosper, if you want to thrive, if you want to take territory and advance on any mountain, I don't care whether it's the church mountain, government, business, media, is build your life, build your business on kingdom foundational principles. They're never going out of style. They're only going to get more important. They're only going to be more effective, because like it just seems like there's fewer and fewer people that are tapping into this stuff. And so to me, being a kingdom entrepreneur is with forethought, with intentionality, choosing to build and connect to principles intentionally and build up from there, as opposed to stumbling across a principle that works. And that's what much of the world has done. The success industry, the motivational industry, The Secret, all that kind of stuff, they've tapped into some kingdom principles, maybe through trial and error, maybe through even studying the Word of God, and then just call it something else. They change the name to rebrand it. But let's take what some people do on accident and be intentional. And I always say that my tagline is, kingdom life is the best life. If people really knew how awesome the kingdom was, we would never settle for religion. We would never settle for Christianity. We would never settle for anything, because in the kingdom, like, it's incredible, man. Life in the kingdom is the best. There's nothing like it. It's the best deal going. And fortunately, most of us in the church realm have only marketed and promoted church, life in church, when we really should be promoting life in the kingdom, because life in the kingdom is the best offer going. It's incredible.
That's awesome. That's some good stuff.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually went to another event a couple of months ago, and it was actually a Christian group that met every week, and they talked about, like, how do they incorporate God in their business. And really, like, I gave my speech on, like, be a conduit, not a bucket. This is how you don't really bring Christianity into business. It is life. Like, it's everything you do. And that all starts with what we say is charity, which is like, God's given us everything he's given us. We don't have anything that we have because of ourselves. We've been given it by God. And we have to use that love that he's given us to lead with every single thing that we do.
So Tom, what was the question that was asked?
The question that was asked to me was, how do we incorporate God into our business?
Bingo, right there.
Exactly.
Stop.
So that's one of the questions.
Question.
Yes.
That's the wrong. No, that's better than not asking it at all. Okay, so let's give glory. Let's praise the fact that we're even asking that question. But you see, that's not the best question.
Right.
God does not want to be added to anything.
Yep.
Think of me last, right? Start with me, build with me.
Yes.
Put me first. Matthew 6:33, seek the kingdom first. First, not after you built your whole business, after you've done everything. Oh, how can we sprinkle some God flakes and some Christianity on top of this? That's not what I'm about. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to dishonor anybody or anything. But I'm just telling you that this for me is everything. This for me is life. Absolutely. Kingdom entrepreneurship, being a kingdom entrepreneur is foundational. It's not what I do, it's who I am. And we're raising up and equipping people like that all over the world. That's what 100X is all about.
Awesome. So let's park on that for a second then. So 100X, let's talk about that. How are you encouraging other people to implement these thoughts into their business, or even before they get into business? I mean, we talked about that's not the right first question, obviously. So how are you structuring that for other people to be taught that with your 100X Academy?
Yeah, and this is really new. Like this is, I mean, literally the 100X Academy just was something that it was literally, it was God's idea, not mine. It was something I honestly feel a little bit tricked into, because my whole life has been just incredibly disrupted in a great way with 100X. But the first thing is I model it. I live it. I let people see how I live. I have not been a part of a lot of masterminds. What I can tell you is that our community of 100X Acceleration, they know me. They know me. They know the real Pedro. They don't know the Pedro, the guru Pedro version. They know me. I let them see my life. I go live every day, sometimes hours a day. I go live from the office. I go live from my home. I go live with my wife. I go live with my staff. I'm talking about everything in my life. Right now I'm going live on this podcast. They're watching me do this. I didn't wait to see how I did so I can post-produce it, so I can then so one is I'm living it. I'm living my life authentically, transparently before the people that I'm looking to lead. Right? So they can catch that. They can see, oh, that's what it looks like. There's a reason why Jesus had disciples live with him. They didn't all meet at church on a Sunday or a Saturday for 3 years. They lived with him for 3.5 years. Eat, sleep, like they spent 3.5 years together. So I'm living my life before the people that I want to influence the most. And that's our 100X Acceleration community. 2, then I'm just hammering at these principles, at these mindsets, because we have a religious mindset. I didn't grow up in church. I got saved at 28, okay? And I was like, man, maybe it'd been better to have been raised in church. I'm like, maybe it wouldn't have been. Because even though I've only been saved 14, you know what? Well, gosh, that's almost 20 years now. I still had some religious mindsets that I picked up from the church. Now, I got friends of mine who are third-generation pastors. It's taking them a decade to start to be okay with the idea of prospering financially. Okay, so at least, you know, so one is that's how I live. 2, it's I'm trying to bring revelation to the kingdom versus to the religion. There's kingdom life, and then there's life as a religion. Okay, I'm trying to bring clarity there and kind of shift some mindsets there. And then just through the, you know, teaching books, just talking about it, right? I mean,
so what are some of your core principles?
Real example is results, right? No one cares. You asked about the trophy, right? No one cares about, really nobody wants to talk to you if your life doesn't have a fragrance, right? Your life should have a fragrance. There should be fruit. There's people, like your life should be an invitation to want to ask more. Like, hey, what's this thing on your wall? How did you get this? How do you live like this? So for me, it's all about just having a life that bears tons of fruit so that I can be an example of what it looks like, and then invite people into the kingdom because they have a picture of what it could look like versus me trying to, you know, present another conversation, you know, that to me is not as attractive. But I think that's, you know, maybe what you're going for.
Yeah. Sure. So have you articulated what the actual principles are that you think that kingdom entrepreneurship should be based off of?
Yeah. So I'm doing that in my upcoming book.
Okay.
I'm hoping to launch the 100X Academy book in October. Awesome. How to crush it as a kingdom entrepreneur without having to abandon your ethics and your biblical values. So I'm hoping to launch that in October. There's many, many, many kingdom principles. I'll give you one. Let me give you one that I think is probably one of the most powerful principles. It's so deep, like I could probably write I could probably write a book a year on this one principle. And that is the principle of stewardship. Okay, stewardship. If you're listening at home, write this down. It's stewardship. Now, here's what the church has taught us. Again, I hope not to offend, and I love the church. So here's my disclaimer. I love the church. I go to a church. I have an amazing church. I'm not some renegade guy who doesn't believe in church, who only, watches stuff online. No, I belong to a local church. I believe in the local church. But here's unfortunately what a lot of we've been taught at the local church is if you're a tither, and if you're a good tither, that means you're a good steward. Wrong. I disagree. If you're a good tither, that means you are a good tither. But what are you doing with the other 90%? A good steward is faithful with the 100. Yes, the 10%. Yes, the tithe. Yes, I believe in that. But just I know so many tithers who are still struggling. They are broke. They're barely getting by. And I'm like, if tithing alone was the answer, then why does your life look like this? You're obviously missing some revelation. There's the other 90%. So stewardship. Let me explain to you how powerful stewardship is, how applying one concept can lead to $1 billion company. You want to hear one?
Absolutely.
I want
to hear 4, but we'll settle for 1.
So, yes, I love stewardship. It's one of our cores. Exactly like you're going right down the path I think you're going. I have no idea where you're going, but I think you're going there.
Here's one idea. Here's one business idea where they applied stewardship to create probably a multi-billion-dollar company. Uber. Everybody wants to be Uber. Oh, I'm the Uber this, Uber that. What is Uber? Think about what Uber did. Uber said, wait a minute. There are people. These people have cars. And this car is an asset. And a lot of times that car is in park in the driveway, not being used. So what if we gave people a chance to become better stewards of their vehicle, turn it from a liability into an asset, and being a better stewards of their time, so when they had free time and didn't need their car, they could become a better steward of their time in their car and drive someone around. All Uber did was let people become better stewards of the car in their driveway. One idea, $1 billion valuation. And I don't think those guys are believers. But yet, if we know stewardship is important, we know it's important. Jesus talked about it all the time. Why wasn't that one of us? So all the hot ideas, Airbnb, stewarding your real estate. I have an empty room. Rent it. I have an empty house. Rent. I mean, like all the big ideas, all the $1 billion ideas, look at them. They're basically helping people become better stewards of something they already have. Airbnb, Uber, there's more. Lyft. There's more. One idea, one principle, our God.
I love it.
But the world is better applying these principles because, Tom, they take action.
Yep, absolutely. So, and I love that you brought up stewardship, and the concept that you're talking about is like, and what I love about Uber is that they're not even taking an asset that they own. They're actually helping somebody else. So it's kind of like this whole mindset of how much value can I bring to the community? There's only 2 ways to make money. And I think we make money our God, and we think that money is this big thing that we need to have at the end of our lifetime, when it's really not. It's value, it's influence that we should be after. And there's only 2 ways to make is to add value to people's lives. So why do people use Uber? Because it's easy. It's transparent. Like they trust Uber. So on the other side, like me, when I'm going to California, when I'm going around the country, now I'm using Uber. Like, why am I using it? Because it's valuable to me. So there's only 2 ways to make money. Number 1, add value to people's lives. Or number 2, rip people off. That's it. Those are the only 2 ways to make money in life. That's it. You know? And
I love that. I talk a lot about the first one, but you're right. You can, for a season, you can rip people off for a season until eventually you get someone catches up to you, right?
Exactly. So, and stewardship is all about, I love your 100X. And I heard you talk about this a couple days ago when I was looking some stuff up about you. But you're absolutely right. We should be focused on 100x. We shouldn't be focused on 10x. 10x is 10%. Like the Bible never talks about 10x. It never talks about 10. It always talks about doubling everything. It always talks about doubling. So how quick can you double? How quick can you get 100% return on whatever you've done? It doesn't talk about how do I get 10%. It always focuses on, stewardship. We talk about the story in the Bible about the talents. The master gives the talents to the people, and the people have these talents. And one guy is a lazy servant. The one guy just buries the talents, and when the master comes back, he gives it to him and says, "You're a hard boss. I knew you were going to be mean if I didn't give you back this talent." We think stewardship is saving or like holding it all to ourselves, but what it's not, that's not what stewardship is. Stewardship is taking what you've been given, understanding, number one, it wasn't from us. We didn't do anything to give this. We were given the opportunity to be in the United States, to have the opportunities that we have, to have access to the capital, to the people, to the network that we have. And all the principles that God's given us in his word that totally blow away anything that in the world that can give us for a reason. And it's to double what we've been given to be able to give back to the master or to be able to give to the communities that God put us here on earth to serve. Mm-hmm. And it's how quick can you double? Like, I love the story of the doubling penny. And to me, that's a great example of stewardship. It's awesome. So it is one of our cores. I'm glad you said that. We didn't discuss this beforehand, but ours are charity, stewardship, community, and growth. And stewardship is a core part of that, like the love that you've been given to God and how you're going to help your community with.
Our previous mastermind event, we gave away our stewardship award for masterminding Glenn Stromberg.
Yes.
So.
And stewardship, just a couple of things. You guys should bring me back on and talk more about this. If it's that important to you guys, there's a lot more to unpack here. Mm-hmm. And I like what you said, Tom, is that Uber doesn't even own the vehicles.
Right. It's not about ownership. It's about control, and it's about access.
There you go. Stewardship, the definition of stewardship means you don't own it. You cannot be a steward and an owner at the same time.
Yep.
And that's where we get messed up because we're Americans and we're capitalists. And so we have to be very careful what's happening in here and in here. Because the minute I say I own my home, I've taken my home outside of the kingdom.
Yep.
Wow.
Because the minute I say I own this, then I have made myself owner, which means I'm no longer a steward. But if I stay a steward, then I must understand that I am stewarding whose home is this? Whose car is this? The Lord's. I'm a steward of the Lord's. This is his stuff, which means whenever he says to do with it, I must do with it. Okay?
Absolutely. Love it.
Again, and that's the big thing is that we have an ownership mindset. Ownership. Oh, I have to own. I have to go. Let's start Uber. Let's go buy 100,000 taxi cabs. All of a sudden, boom, you can't do it. Now you have to go borrow money. Now you got to do all this stuff. The principle of stewardship literally means you could launch a business. You can actually launch a business with very little capital. Because we go to money first. In the world, we go to money first. The world's mindset, the world system, you want something done? Money. In the kingdom, I go to money last. I literally go through a checklist of other ways to solve problems. Money is the last one on the list because money in the kingdom has the least amount of power. It has power. It's the lowest level of power. There's so many other forms of things I could tap into in the kingdom that have way more power, way more leverage. I mean, that's a big real estate word. I love the word leverage. The kingdom is the highest form of leverage you can have on your life. And when you bring that to investing in business, okay, it's a wrap. So I love what you said there. And just to clarify, Tom, like 10x, that is a 10 times return. It's not 10%, it's 10x. And that's great. The world went crazy. I love Grant Cardone. I think Grant Cardone has a great thing going there with 10x. But what kind of got me thinking now was like, this is crazy. Grant's got a movement of people who would love to have a 10x return. And in the Bible, 10x wasn't even worthy of being mentioned. The lowest level was 30-fold, 30x. And I was like, why do we settle for 10 when 100 is possible? And 100x isn't even the ceiling. I think that's just a target. So 100x, the 100x Academy is about how do we tap into not a 10%, which the world thinks would be amazing, or even 10x, which will blow your mind, and you can get very wealthy on 10X. How do we tap into that the Lord is saying some 100, 60, 30? A lot of translations changed it. Some 30, 60, 100. No. Go to the King James. It says 100, 60, 30. 100 was the first number mentioned. Okay, so that's what 100X is all about. It's how do we appropriate, how do we stack on these kingdom principles? Because stewardship is one. One's enough to get you, to $1 billion or more. But what if you start stacking on kingdom principle, kingdom principle, kingdom principle? And now you've got 3, 4, 5 at work. Now we can get into the 100X level. So that's what we're up to here at 100X, is helping people identify the kingdom principles that they can appropriate in their life, in their business, and then fast track them into success, because the kingdom works everywhere all the time.
That's absolutely incredible. I love every single part of that. So obviously you're very passionate about what you do and what you're trying to accomplish in life, right? So I love it. It's incredible. I mean, I'm sure that our listeners right now are just like eating all this up. So because of that, that means that you have a strong purpose. You have a strong why. Do you mind us asking what that is?
I believe that I believe there will be a day and I'll be face to face with Jesus. Now I'm going to have to give an account. And I don't want to make excuses. Because I won't be able to. Mm-hmm. People might try. Oh, but I got busy. Oh, but I came from the wrong side of the tracks. Oh, I believe when people are face to face with Jesus, like, the excuses that they were going to give, they won't be even able to say. So I know I will be looking in those eyes, and I just want to be there and be happy and be proud and just know that, like, I just want to know I finished, and I just ran hard. And it's not to get caught up in the works. I'm not into works. I'm not a works-based guy. But man, like we get to be in the family business. I have my son coming into the office now. He's 18. If any of my employees end up outworking my son, it's a tragedy. My son is the heir to this business. If my son does not outwork he's 18. I'm gonna give him a little time, right? But like, so don't project into me some works-based mantra. No, what I'm saying is we have the ability to work in the family business. We have the ability to tap into inheritance. Why shouldn't we be the people that work the hardest? Because we are heirs to this. And again, I just want my life to matter. I want my life to matter. I've always, as a kid, this is kind of crazy. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this. I would cry myself to sleep almost every night as maybe like from the age of like 8 to maybe even through high school. I would lay in bed by myself. I would just start thinking about my life. I would start thinking about dying. And I would sit there in my bed as a kid, start thinking about that I'm gonna die one day. And I just felt the walls closing in on me. Like literally, it was like I literally just felt like I was being suffocated. And I just can't take it anymore. I would get up. I would go down the hall, crawl into my brother's bed. My younger brother, by the way. We had twin beds. I would crawl into my younger brother's bed. There's, here, I'm sneaking in the corner. And this is going to be super, here's how you know I'm the real deal. My brother, he'll probably never hear this podcast. My brother used to wet the bed. My brother used to wet his bed even through, I think, even high school. Here's how badly I didn't want to be alone. I would leave my room, sneak out of my bed, crawl into my brother's bed, knowing there was a 50-50 chance I was going to get peed on. And that's how bad I didn't want to be alone.
You're a big
I'm like, man, you know what? I'm probably going to get pissed on, but you know what? Hey, it's better than being here like shaking like a leaf. And literally, I've always had, I got saved at a funeral. And so sometimes our childhood, sometimes there's things in our past that before I was even saved, sometimes things in our history that God is using to highlight. And so I just feel that like I've always had this thing on my life about like my life mattering. And I mean, gosh, my first book, you know, my first #1 best-selling book, right? You know, The Finished Life, you know, forwarded by Bill Johnson, The Finished Life. It is finished, right? The idea of living a life so well lived that you've kind of accomplished everything that God had for you. I mean, that book took me 5 years to write. I wrote this book during one of the most painful, darkest seasons of my life, where literally all I had was the Word of God to hold on to. And so I guess that's my why. You know, I wish it was super more positive, like, oh, I want to go feed the homeless. I want to go build houses. And that's all great. I do all that stuff too. But I just think if we're kingdom people, we have to keep first things first. There will be a day, and not just kingdom. I believe there will be a day where all of us, everybody is going to be face to face with Jesus. Mm-hmm. And we should live our life backwards. I heard an amazing teaching. Can I go on one more step?
Yeah, let's go.
I heard an amazing teaching this morning. Thanks, man. And it was about a guy. There's some guy, some famous. He's not really famous, but he's a celebrity in the mountain climbing world. I guess he has climbed. He's like one of 25 men in the world who have climbed all. I guess there's like 14 summits that are over 8,000 feet. This guy's climbed them all. And he's a guide. And he was being interviewed. And he's like, hey, you've never had, no one's ever died on your watch. As a guide, tell me, how do you plan out the hike, the journey to Mount Everest and back? How do you plan that out? Why are you so good at what you do? He's like, because I start my plan from the top down. He begins his whole entire plan working backwards from starting on the top of the mountain, coming down. Everybody else starts at the bottom, going up and coming down. And I was like, man, that this man understands the kingdom. This man might not be saved, but he understands the kingdom because God finished everything before he started. The word says that before the foundations of the earth, the Lamb was slain. So this guy starts with the end in mind and works backwards. And so every believer, every kingdom person should start with that point on the mountain, because it's not the end. Once we go into glory, it's not the end, but that's the mountaintop experience, if you will, I would say. Why don't we build our lives based on that and build backwards?
Yep.
Instead of trying to go this way, like the world, to accumulate, build, and one day I'll get there. That's the guru model. Maybe I'll keep climbing. No. Knowing we're going to be there, let's build our lives backwards. So I guess that's my why. That's how I approach my life, you know, and I'm trying to do more of that every day. I had a lot of things to unlearn. I grew up with a lot of information, education that I've had to unlearn. And but I feel like we're doing okay, could do better, and that's my aim, that's my goal.
That's awesome. So we have so many synergies. You have no idea how exactly what you're saying is what we teach and preach, and it's amazing. We believe that the only reason why we're here on this earth is to glorify God, and we want to glorify God by adding value to our communities is kind of what we do here. Now, yes, we have these goals, we have these things that we want to do, but at the end of the day, it's exactly what you said. Like, we're here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to glorify God. And at the end of our life, with the words we want to hear are, well done, thou good and faithful servant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tom, let me answer your question. This will help you guys. How do you glorify God?
So for us, we glorify God by adding value to our communities. Like, that's what we always talk about. Everything that we do is about our community. Those are the people that we serve. Those are the things that we do. Glorifying God is also like how you speak, who you talk about, who you praise. You can glorify God in many different ways.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Especially you guys are real estate people. We glorify God by expanding the kingdom of God on earth.
Absolutely.
That is the kingdom mandate.
Yep.
That is why we're here. That's why we were created. right? We were created to bring the influence of heaven. The influence of heaven. Heaven is a real place. Heaven is a real physical place in an invisible realm. It has a governance. It operates in a certain way. All right. Our how we glorify God is we bring the nature of the kingdom of God to earth. So you and your community, especially in real estate, you guys have the ability to expand the kingdom of God through your students, of course, and how you coach them. But also, you guys are taking land. You're actually taking physical territory. You can actually expand the kingdom. When I buy a rental property, and I'm like, this is my rental property, and I'm in the kingdom. This is now part of the kingdom. This is now kingdom territory. You're taking influence. Because you can't have a kingdom without what? Land. If you say you're a king and you have no land, no. You're a king and you might be a prince. You might be a prince in training. But to be a king, you must have a kingdom. Dom means domain. You must have land. You must have territory. So literally, you are equipping people to expand their real estate holdings, which means if they're kingdom people, they can be physically expanding their influence of the kingdom of God through their portfolios.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm right there with you.
So this is, cool stuff there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have to wrap this up. It's been absolutely incredible. I'm eating this all up. It's incredible. Speechless in some of these, but we got to wrap this up with one more question for you, Pedro, and then we're gonna have to let you go. But we are gonna have you back like very soon because there's so much more that we could talk about with Pedro. So Pedro, good success comes from Joshua 1:8. Talks about it's in the Bible about the right type of success. So it means something to us. We did episode 100 where we got the entire Good Success team talked about what good success means to us. To you, when you hear the term good success, what does that mean to you?
It means prospering as a kingdom entrepreneur.
Awesome. Cool.
Perfect. Prospering as a kingdom entrepreneur.
Before we go, I do want to make sure that you give everybody the opportunity to go to your websites and talk a little bit about your event that's coming up here in October, how they can maybe order your book, and then maybe a little bit about your business and how they might be able to get in touch with you there. Because I'm sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tom. So big event happening in October. If you're not going to Josh's wedding, you should be at my conference. When we get off this line, I'm going to be convincing Josh to relocate the wedding to Vacaville. So he can do both.
We'll just go right over there.
Yeah, you guys are having venue problems. I mean, we could just have your wedding at the event.
We'll do it in my backyard. I got a nice backyard. How big is the wedding? No. So for real, 100X conference. 100X conference. Think about it, Tom. Josh, think about it. Josh is thinking about it. 100xconference.com. 100xconference.com, October 11th to the 13th. I believe this might be the first conference of its kind. Why is that, Pedro? Because we're going to have powerful kingdom teaching. We're going to have a powerful time of prophetic teaching and impartation. We haven't gotten to that yet. That's a whole nother conversation. And then hardcore, practical, real world entrepreneurship techniques and methods. I'm going to crack open my Facebook ads manager. And I've personally spent over $300,000 from my own pocket on Facebook ads. I'm going to show people how to write great Facebook ads. I'm going to show them the sales funnel that got me that. And so it's going to be both kingdom teaching, prophetic impartation, and prophetic understanding, and then just the best in class, marketing information at the 100xconference.com. The early bird special was over on Sunday. I've been too busy to pull the link down. You can still grab an early bird seat there and save yourself $100. And then we have the 100X Academy. For those of you guys that may not be able to make the conference, go over to 100xacademy.com. You can learn more about what we do there. And I think that's the best way for now to kind of get a hold of us. And then all of my financial stuff, I'm kind of packaging up through 100X now. Mm-hmm. And so that's the best way for those guys to connect with me. The Finished Life, I mentioned this book earlier. This is on Amazon. All the proceeds of this book, I donate to Iris, the ministry of Heidi and Roland Baker. They've had a huge impact on my life. So if you want to grab this book on Amazon, The Finished Life, you can get an amazing book and also support some great people who are doing some amazing work in Africa. But that's what I'm up to, guys. It's going to be an epic event. I think history will be made. I fully expect I fully expect people to leave there equipped and empowered. And I honestly believe, just real talk, that this is a kingdom entrepreneurship movement. This is not just a business or a mastermind or a group. Like, I feel like this is the move of God that we've heard about and prophesied for so many years about. The next harvest would come from outside the church. It would come from the business world. And so I think that we're part of that somehow, some way. And of course, we have the usual 100X fan. We have a 100X Academy page on Facebook, and they can follow my Instagram at Pedro Adao. That's it, man. That's my story. I'm sticking to this story. This is the whole truth.
Thanks, Pedro. Appreciate all your time. And
yeah, we're gonna have everything. Yeah, we're gonna have everything linked below. So everything that he just mentioned, make sure you guys check out the comments. It's gonna be there. His book, the 100X Academy, the event, all that stuff. His tags, Facebook pages, and everything. So Pedro, we appreciate you being on, man. This is awesome. We're definitely gonna have you back soon to talk about more kingdom entrepreneur stuff. Like, I'm very excited about this podcast going out. So it's gonna be awesome. Thanks for being on, taking the time to be on, and we look forward to having you back soon.
That was my pleasure, man. I'll be back anytime you guys want me to. I loved it.
Thank you so much for listening to this Good Success podcast episode. Make sure to subscribe to us. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Anchor, or Spotify, any one of those platforms, however you like to listen to your podcast. Make sure you subscribe. And just a quick reminder to go pick up your free copy of the Active Turnkey book. It's absolutely free. Just cover the shipping costs and we'll pay for the book. Just head over to goodsuccess.com/ATK book. Again, that's goodsuccess.com/ATK book. And you can pick up the book there. So make sure you go do that. Thank you for listening. And remember to be a conduit, not a bucket.